Good morning, everyone. I want to start by asking you a simple question. Do you know how powerful you are? Not just in the way the world sees you, not in how many Instagram likes you get, not in how perfectly you fit into someone else's definition of beauty, but in the way you see yourself, in the way you define your own power. Because let me tell you something, you are more powerful than you know, and you are beautiful just as you are. I have spent years in an industry that thrives on perfection. Perfect hair, perfect body, perfect smile. But let me tell you, I've learned something even more valuable. Perfection is a myth, and authenticity is power. I remember as a teenager, I doubted myself. I didn't think I was pretty enough, smart enough, or talented enough. Until one day I decided no more. Have you ever looked in the mirror and asked yourself, am I enough? Be honest. Maybe it was this morning as you fixed your hair, adjusted your outfit, or checked your reflection one last time before stepping out into the world. Maybe it was yesterday when you scrolled through social media, seeing images of seemingly perfect lives, perfect bodies, perfect success stories, and you wondered if you measured up. Or maybe, just maybe, it was a silent question that's lived in your heart for years, hidden beneath layers of self-doubt, comparison, and the need for validation. But what if I told you that the very fact that you asked that question is proof that you are more than enough? That your power, your beauty, your worth, it was never meant to be questioned in the first place. You see, from the moment we wake up, we are flooded with silent messages telling us what we should be, what we should look like, how we should act. They come from advertisements, from magazines, from movies, from people around us. They tell us, you'll be beautiful when you lose weight. You'll be successful when you earn more. You'll be worthy when someone loves you. And so without realizing it, we start shaping our lives around these conditions. We start believing that our power and beauty are things we have to earn instead of things we already possess. But here's the truth. You were born powerful. You were born enough. You were born beautiful. And the only person you need to convince of that is yourself. So let me ask you again. Do you know how powerful you are? Think about a time when you felt unstoppable. Maybe it was when you stood up for yourself for the first time, refusing to be treated less than you deserve. Maybe it was when you worked hard for something despite the odds and proved to yourself that you could achieve it. Maybe it was the day you chose to walk away from something toxic even when it was painful. That moment, that was your power shining through. Now let's take another example. Have you ever seen a little child? A toddler who is just learning to walk. When they take their first steps, they stumble, they fall. But do they ever stop trying? No. They giggle, they get up and they try again. They don't doubt themselves. They don't think, what if I look silly or what if I fail? They don't compare themselves to another toddler and say, oh, she took 5 steps and I only took 2, I must not be good enough. No, they just keep going. They believe in their own ability without question. So tell me, when did we lose that? When did we start measuring our worth in likes, in numbers, in opinions that don't even belong to us? When did we let the world tell us that we are not enough, that we are not powerful, that we are not beautiful just as we are? I'll tell you when. When we started believing the lie that our value is external instead of internal. But here's what I want you to remember. Your power was never in someone else's validation. Your beauty was never in society's approval. Your worth was never in their hands. It has always been in you. So let me ask you one last time. Do you know how powerful you are? Not in the way the world measures power, not in fame or money or status, but in the way you make people feel, in the way you rise after falling, in the way you embrace your flaws and own your story. Your power is in your kindness. Your power is in your resilience. Your power is in the way you keep going, despite the voices that tell you you can't. And the day you stop questioning it, the day you stop seeking permission to be great, the day you decide that you are enough, that will be the day the world sees you for who you truly are. So the next time you look in the mirror, don't ask, am I enough? Instead, remind yourself, I am powerful, I am worthy, I am beautiful, just as I am. Let me tell you a story. One that might sound familiar, not because you've heard it before, but because, in some way, It might be your story too. There was a young girl who grew up in a world where she constantly felt like she wasn't enough. She was always too much of something and not enough of something else. Too loud, too quiet, too ambitious, too shy, too dark, too pale, too skinny, too curvy. No matter what she did, she was always chasing a version of herself that would finally be perfect. One day, in school, she stood in front of the mirror in the girls' restroom, fixing her hair, adjusting her sleeves, making sure her dress looked just right. As she did, she overheard two classmates whispering behind her. "She thinks she looks good," one girl laughed. "I don't know why she even tries," the other added. It was a moment, a single moment, but sometimes that's all it takes. She went home that day and stood in front of her mirror again, this time not to fix her hair, but to look at herself through their words. And suddenly the reflection looking back at her felt smaller, dimmer, less. That's how it starts, doesn't it? Maybe it wasn't in a school restroom for you. Maybe it was at work when someone doubted your ability. Maybe it was on social media when you saw someone else living a life that looked so much more perfect than yours. Maybe it was at home, in your own family, when someone made you feel like you weren't quite measuring up. We all have those moments, those tiny, cutting moments that stay with us even when we try to forget them. We let those words, those opinions, those comparisons define us. We carry them with us like invisible weights, bending under their pressure, believing that maybe, just maybe, we aren't enough. But let me tell you what happened next in her story. One day, years later, that same girl, now a woman, stood in front of another mirror. But this time, something was different. She had spent so long trying to fit into everyone else's expectations, trying to be the version of herself that would finally be right. But that day, she looked at her reflection and asked herself a different question. What if I'm already enough? Not when she lost weight. Not when she became more successful, not when she got someone's approval, but right now, just as she was. And in that moment, she realized something. All those years, she had been giving away her power, letting other people decide her worth, letting their words shape her identity. But the truth is, no one can define you unless you let them. And so, she made a decision. She decided to take back her power, to love herself, not in a way that needed validation, but in a way that was unapologetic. She stopped trying to be perfect and started being real. And in doing so, she discovered something incredible. She was already everything she was looking for. Maybe you see yourself in her story. Maybe you've had moments when the world made you feel small. Maybe you've spent too much time waiting for someone else to tell you that you're good enough, smart enough, beautiful enough. But let me tell you this. You don't need permission to be powerful. You don't need approval to be beautiful. You don't need validation to be enough. You are already everything you need to be. You are already more powerful than you know. And the day you realize that, the day you stop waiting for the world to tell you who you are, is the day you will step into the best version of yourself. So the next time you look in the mirror, don't see yourself through someone else's words. See yourself for who you truly are. Strong, capable, beautiful, and more than enough. What is beauty? Who decided what is beautiful and what is not? Have you ever stopped to think about that? From the moment we open our eyes to the world, we are bombarded with messages on billboards, in magazines, in movies, on social media, all telling us what beauty should look like. Thin but not too thin. Curvy but only in the right places, fair-skinned in some cultures, tanned in others, flawless skin, perfect hair, symmetrical features. It's as if the world has created a checklist, and unless you tick every single box, you're made to feel like you don't belong. But let me ask you this. Who created these rules? And more importantly, why should we follow them? Imagine a young girl standing in front of a mirror, holding a fashion magazine in one hand and her reflection in the other. She looks at the photos, the airbrush perfection, the impossibly smooth skin, the sculpted body, and then back at herself. And just like that, she starts to question her own worth. Maybe she thinks, why don't I look like this? Maybe I need to lose weight. Maybe I need to change my hair. Maybe I'm not pretty enough. Now imagine this same girl 10 years later. She has spent years chasing an image of beauty that was never real to begin with. She has tried every diet, every skincare product, every trick in the book. She has stood in front of mirrors, critiquing every inch of her body, and for what? To fit into a mold created by people who don't even know her? If this story sounds familiar, it's because it's not just one person's story, it's all of ours. We have all, at some point, measured ourselves against an unrealistic standard. We have all looked at someone else and thought, if only I looked like that, I would be happy. But let's break this illusion for a second. Look at nature. Look at the trees, the flowers, the ocean. Do you ever see a flower comparing itself to another? Do you see a wave in the ocean apologizing for not being tall enough? No, because everything in nature thrives in its uniqueness. The world is beautiful because of its diversity, not in spite of it. And yet, somehow, we have convinced ourselves that beauty has to fit into a tiny little box. Think about the beauty standards that exist today. Most of them are impossible. Models and celebrities we see on magazine covers don't even look like that in real life. Their photos are edited, their flaws erased. And yet, we compare our raw, real selves to something that doesn't even exist. But real beauty? Real beauty is the stretch marks on a mother's belly, telling the story of life she brought into the world. Real beauty is the wrinkles on your grandmother's hands, a sign of all the years she has lived, loved, and experienced. Real beauty is in the scars, the freckles, the imperfect smiles. It's in the way your eyes light up when you laugh. It's in the confidence of a person who knows they are enough, just as they are. Have you ever met someone who, by society's standards, might not be considered traditionally beautiful, but the moment they walk into a room, all eyes turn to them? It's not because of their features. It's because of their energy, their confidence, their self-love. They shine because they have owned who they are without apology. So why are we still trying to fit into a beauty standard that was never designed for us? Why are we chasing perfection when real beauty has never been about perfection? It's time to redefine beauty. Beauty is not a size. It is not a skin color. It is not a certain type of face, body, or hair. Beauty is you, exactly as you are. So the next time you feel like you don't measure up, the next time you look at someone else and think, I wish I looked like that, I want you to remember this. The world does not need another copy of someone else. It needs you, with all your unique features, your imperfections, your authenticity. Because the moment you stop trying to be beautiful by someone else's definition and start embracing your own beauty, that is the moment you become truly unstoppable. Highlight where true power comes from. What is power? Is it in the titles we hold, the money we earn, the way the world perceives us? Or is it something deeper, something far more unshakable? For too long we have been told that power is external, that it belongs to the rich, the famous, the influential, that power is in the hands of those who sit at the top, CEOs, politicians, celebrities, world leaders, that unless you have a certain status, a certain level of success, you are not truly powerful. But that is the biggest lie we have ever been told. Power does not come from money. It does not come from beauty. It does not come from validation. True power comes from within. Think about the most powerful people you have ever met. Were they the ones who walked into a room demanding attention? Or were they the ones who carried themselves with quiet confidence, unshaken by the world's expectations? Were they the ones who relied on external things to feel worthy? Or were they the ones who, despite everything, knew their worth even when no one else saw it? Power is not in how the world sees you. It is in how you see yourself. Imagine a woman who has been told her whole life that she is too ordinary to make a difference. She is not famous. She is not wealthy. She is not someone the world pays attention to. But every single day she gets up. She works hard. She loves fiercely. She lifts others up. She is the one her family turns to in times of trouble. She is the one who brings people together. She is the one who carries strength in her heart, even when life tries to break her. Is she not powerful? Or imagine a man who has lost everything, his job, his confidence, his sense of self. The world looks at him and sees failure, but what they don't see is the way he refuses to give up, the way he rebuilds himself piece by piece, day by day, the way he faces his struggles with courage even when no one is watching. Is he not powerful? True power is resilience. It is the ability to stand tall even when life tries to knock you down. It is knowing your worth even when others don't recognize it. It is choosing to be kind in a world that tells you to be ruthless. Have you ever seen someone who has been through hell and still manages to smile? That is power. Have you ever met someone who has every reason to be bitter, but instead they choose love? That is power. And here's the thing, you already have that power inside you. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to wait for someone else to give it to you. It has been within you all along. The only thing that stops you from feeling it is the belief that you are not enough. But let me tell you, you are. You are powerful in the way you love. You are powerful in the way you rise after falling. You are powerful in the way you refuse to give up on yourself. The world may try to define power in a way that makes you feel small. It may tell you that unless you have certain things, you are not powerful. But the truth is, power is not about what you have. It is about who you are. So the next time you doubt yourself, the next time you feel like you don't matter, the next time you think power belongs to someone else, remind yourself of this. True power is not given. It is claimed. And it is already yours. You are powerful. You are powerful not because of what the world says about you, but because of what you choose to believe about yourself. You are powerful not because of how you look, but because of who you are. You are powerful not because you have never been broken, but because you have put yourself back together every single time. You are powerful, but how many times have you forgotten that? How many times have you looked in the mirror and seen someone who is not enough? How many times have you let doubt creep into your mind and tell you that you don't matter? You have heard so many voices in your life. Some telling you that you're too much. Some telling you that you're not enough, too loud, too quiet, too ambitious, too simple, too dark, too fair, too different, too ordinary. But whose voice have you been listening to? Theirs or yours? You are powerful. You are powerful because no one else in this world has lived your story. No one else has walked in your shoes. No one else has felt what you have felt, seen what you have seen, fought the battles that you have felt. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still rising. You are powerful. You are powerful because you have survived. The days when you wanted to give up, you didn't. The moments when the world told you that you couldn't, you did. The times when you felt invisible, unheard, unseen, you still showed up. You are powerful. Think of the hardest thing you've ever been through. Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe it was failure. Maybe it was loss. Maybe it was a moment when you felt like the world had turned its back on you. Think of that moment and then think of this. You made it through. You are here, and that means you are powerful. You are powerful because you love, even when you have been hurt. You are powerful because you try, even when you are afraid. You are powerful because you dream, even when the world tells you not to. You are powerful, and the moment you believe that, truly believe it, deep in your bones, is the moment everything changes. Because when you believe in your power, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for the world to tell you that you are enough. You stop looking for validation in places where you were never meant to find it. You are powerful. You are powerful because you are you. And there is no one else like you. There never has been, and there never will be again. So don't waste another second doubting yourself. Don't waste another moment thinking you are anything less than extraordinary. Don't waste another breath wishing you were someone else, when the world is waiting for you to step into the power that has always been yours. You are powerful, and it's time you start acting like it. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered if you were enough? If you were beautiful enough, smart enough, strong enough, worthy enough? Have you ever caught yourself comparing your life to someone else's, scrolling through social media, watching the highlights of someone else's seemingly perfect life and thought, why am I not like them? Why is my life not as exciting, as glamorous, as fulfilling? Who told you that you had to be like someone else to be worthy? Who told you that your value was measured by how flawless you looked in a picture? By how many people approved of you? By how much you accomplished by a certain age? Why do we let the world decide how we feel about ourselves? Isn't it strange that from the moment we are born, We are taught to seek validation from others, that we are trained to measure our worth by grades, by likes, by compliments, by how well we fit into a mold that someone else created. When did we forget that we were born enough, that we never had to prove anything to anyone? Have you ever wondered what would happen if, for just one day, you stopped trying to be what the world expected? If you stopped apologizing for who you are? If you stopped waiting for permission to take up space, to speak your truth, to live your life on your own terms? What if the only validation you ever needed was your own? Have you ever thought about how much time we waste doubting ourselves? How many dreams we abandon because we think we are not ready? How many opportunities we turn down because we are afraid of failing? But here's the real question. Failing at what? At not meeting someone else's expectations? At not fitting into an idea of success that was never meant for us in the first place? Isn't failure just another way of learning? Another step on the path to something greater? What if the people you admire the most had given up on themselves? What if the artists, the leaders, the visionaries who changed the world had believed the doubts in their heads and never tried? What if you are capable of more than you've ever imagined, but you've spent so long doubting yourself that you've never given yourself the chance to find out? Why do we wait for life to give us a sign before we believe in our own power? Why do we let fear dictate our choices, our dreams, our futures? And if fear has held you back for this long, doesn't that mean it has already stolen too much from you? What if today was the day you decided that fear no longer had control over you? What if you woke up tomorrow and chose to believe that you are already enough, that you are already powerful, that you are already worthy? Wouldn't that change everything? And if it would, then what's stopping you? When was the last time you looked at yourself, not just in the mirror, but truly looked at yourself and felt at peace? Not because you fit into some perfect version of what the world expects, but because you simply embraced who you are as you are. How often do we wake up and immediately start a battle with ourselves? We see our reflection and the first thought is what needs to be fixed. We scroll through social media and suddenly feel like we aren't doing enough. We hear someone's opinion and we begin questioning if we're good enough. But what if, for once, you didn't fight yourself? What if, for once, you didn't pick yourself apart? What if, instead of focusing on what you need to change, you focused on what makes you uniquely you? We live in a world that constantly tells us we need to be something else, someone else, to be worthy. Be thinner, be taller, be fairer, be curvier, be quieter, be bolder. We are bombarded with messages that tell us that self-acceptance is something we will earn later. When we achieve a certain goal, when we reach a certain level of success. But why should loving yourself be something you postpone? Why should your happiness depend on conditions that someone else created? Self-acceptance is not something you earn. It is something you choose. Right now, in this very moment, you have everything you need to accept yourself. You do not need to change. You do not need to be better before you deserve love, respect, and confidence. You do not need anyone else to tell you that you are enough. You need to tell yourself. Think about this. If a friend came to you and said, I don't feel good enough, I feel like I'm not smart enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough, what would you say to them? Would you say, you're right, you should be better? Of course not. You would remind them of all the things that make them special. You would tell them that they don't have to prove anything to be worthy. You would lift them up, encourage them, remind them of their strengths. So why don't you do the same for yourself? Why is it that we can be kind to everyone except the person in the mirror? Self-acceptance does not mean you stop growing. It does not mean you stop striving for more. It means you recognize that even as you evolve, you are already enough. You do not need to earn the right to love yourself. Think about a child. A child does not question if they are worthy of love. They do not compare themselves to others. They do not look at their reflection and criticize every detail. They exist in their purest form, free, joyful, curious, open-hearted. And then, somewhere along the way, the world starts telling them that they are not enough. Somewhere along the way, they start believing that their worth is tied to how they look, how they perform, how much they accomplish. But you were that child once. And deep inside, that child still exists, the part of you that deserves to be loved. Exactly as you are, has never disappeared. Self-acceptance is remembering that your worth was never meant to be measured. It is looking at your imperfections and realizing they are what make you real. It is embracing your quirks, your flaws, your scars, and knowing they tell your story. It is standing tall in your own identity and saying, this is who I am, and I will not apologize for it. You do not need to wait for someone to give you permission to love yourself. You do not need to be more, do more, have more, achieve more before you can finally say, I accept myself. You can say it now. And when you do, when you truly embrace yourself as you are, the world begins to see you differently. Not because you have changed, but because your confidence radiates in a way that cannot be ignored. People will tell you that self-acceptance is difficult. But is it really? Or have we just been taught to believe that we must struggle before we are allowed to be happy? The truth is, self-acceptance is the most natural thing in the world. The only thing standing in the way is the belief that you are not enough. And that belief, it is not yours. It was given to you. And you have the power to let it go. So let it go. Stop waiting for a version of yourself that is worthy of love. And start seeing that you already are. Because the moment you do, everything changes. You become free. Imagine this. You are standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the life you have always dreamed of. The life where you are not afraid to take up space, where you are not constantly questioning your worth, where you finally embrace yourself fully and unapologetically. It is right there, waiting for you. But between where you stand now and that life, there is only one thing in your way. Fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of failing. Fear of judgment. Fear of stepping into the unknown. And so you stand there frozen, wondering if you should take the leap. Wondering if you have what it takes to be the person you were meant to be. Wondering if you deserve that kind of freedom, that kind of confidence, that kind of joy. But I need you to ask yourself something. What is really holding you back? Is it truly your imperfections? Or is it the idea that someone convinced you that you are not good enough? Is it really your lack of ability? Or is it the fear of failing in front of people who don't even matter? Is it actually your limitations? Or is it the story you have been telling yourself about what you can and cannot do? Because the truth is, the only thing standing in your way is the belief that you cannot rise above the doubts, the insecurities, the expectations placed on you. And that belief, it is a lie. You have spent too much of your life waiting for approval, waiting for the right moment, waiting to be ready. But tell me, when will you ever truly feel ready? When will you ever wake up and feel like there is no fear left, no uncertainty, no hesitation? You won't. Because fear will always be there, doubt will always whisper, the world will always have an opinion, but you have a choice. You can let fear control you, or you can move forward anyway. You can let doubt keep you small, or you can prove it wrong. You can let the world tell you who you should be, or you can stand tall in your